I think that playing around with challenges on the side is a lot of fun. When I was in the military, we were always doing these mock war training things that weren't real. They would make them as real as they could be. Sometimes they would even use live ammo so that you were prepared if you had to go to war, right? It's like you experienced it over and over again. Your subconscious mind learns it as real. I mean, we've all done things like that in sports, in music, or the arts, or whatever. There's a preparedness that we go through over and over and over again. So when the real thing comes, we're ready, we're prepared. When I was a kid, I had this, just to like show you where my mindset was around money. My father had this weird thing. He would not let us carry money on ourselves, not like even a couple of quarters, right? And when I was a kid, there were no cell phones. You had to, if you got stuck, you had to call home, needed a ride, whatever, you had to go to the phone booth. You had to pick up a public phone. There were public phones everywhere. You hardly see public phones today, but they were there. They were everywhere. They were at schools. They were at the 7-Eleven. They were at every gas station, everywhere that you went, every restaurant, you had a public phone. They were everywhere. And I said to him one time, what am I supposed to do if I need to call for an emergency with a public phone? He said, call collect. His idea was if you carried money with you, somebody would take it away from you. As a kid, I remember thinking, this is the craziest flipping thing, right? Because he was an absolutist about it, right? Not even a dime. If he found out you had money in your pocket, you'd be reprimanded for it. Even when I was a teenager, it was crazy. It was really nuts. But it so affected me that I ran around everything in my early adult life, as a teenager, as an early adult, with barely just enough. Like, I never had more than a quarter tank of gas in my car. And it wasn't to go fill it up, right? It was always like a quarter tank. You have just enough to put a quarter tank in. That'll get you around town for a few days. Like it was weird. It was so weird. Well, when I started working with my mentors in the 90s, every one of them, they were people that came from the same kind of messed up middle-class mindset and had become unbelievably wealthy. And they all told me this one secret that most people don't know. And that is to have psychological triggers around you all the time when it comes to money. Now, Proctor started with me first on this, with him demanding that I carry $3,000 in cash in my pocket. Now, here's what I recommend with this. I recommend that you do this with cash, okay? Even though we don't use near as much cash as we did 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and so on. Because all of you were probably raised around more cash than you use now, and it's embedded in your mind as to what money is. But then other mentors I had said, they took me beyond that. They were like, have it all over the place, right? Like every time you look someplace, have cash, so that your mind is being psychologically triggered by all this cash that you actually have. What is it doing? It's combating everything that you see every day about not having enough. Sales, discounts, whatever. Like, we're constantly seeing stuff that represents that there's not enough. Whether we notice it or not doesn't matter, because we're already programmed with it. So usually we only notice things that are important. If you were to walk down the streets and you were all of a sudden to start to see all this stuff about wealth, they would probably be like, what is this? Like, what's going on? It's not something that you see all the time. So I grabbed one of my stacks just to show you that I'm not joking. This is a stack of 50s. It's about 20 grand in 50s, right? Just keep it around. I've got several stacks here and there, because it's a psychological trigger. I always know that it's there. And sometimes I take, like if I'm doing something fun, right? I will go into one of these stacks and I'll rip off a chunk of it, a couple of grand, and just put it in my pocket and go somewhere and do something with it. and then put more back into it. It's an exercise in abundance. And whatever other psychological cues you can have around your house. I actually stopped mentioning this for a while. I used to talk about this a long time. I would bring in a ton of cash to a seminar, right? I would throw some out to the audience. I would light some on fire and burn it $100 bills to show people that's, it's nothing. It comes back. The more you throw it out, the more it comes back. But it was messing with people too much. I actually tore up a $100 bill one time, threw it on the ground in a seminar, and during the break, they were out there picking the pieces up, literally trying to tape it together. Like I was like, well, that's not what I'm trying to get after here. But I don't. It's not something that I've actually talked about that much because most people don't take me seriously when I talk about it. But I believe that it's had a big effect on my ability to have a lot of money be normal in my life. Because at one time it wasn't normal. It was so abnormal. We had no money. We were on food stamps. I remember those days. So the fact that every one of these people, including Tony Robbins, by the way, taught me to have this stuff around, because for my first thought was, how could you keep that much cash in the house? What if somebody steals it? What if the house burns down? And they would all laugh at me. I mean, hysterically laugh at me. Like that's the only 20,000 or that's the only million that there is. And you're going to be destitute, without it. We have very little around our house. A matter of fact, you probably, even from a business perspective, you probably interact with the money that's going out more than the money that's actually coming in. And if you don't think that that messes with your subconscious, you're wrong. It does. Your subconscious, remember, your subconscious, it doesn't judge, right? It doesn't say it doesn't say this is better than this or this is worse than this. It just takes in the information as it is around you. We used to do like the affirmations back in the day, right? I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. Do you think that works better, or do you think having a few of these around the house works better? A few of these around the house definitely works better. And it doesn't matter what you have. It matters that you start, okay? That you start. And some of it is like, you put it there and just leave it there. And like knowing that it's there, right? Always knowing that Dan Kennedy was one, he would put it in the kitchen drawers. He had stacks of money next to the teaspoons in the kitchen drawers. He would put it in baskets. He'd have small baskets here and there throughout the house where he would just take cash and change and just throw it in there. And I remember the first time I heard this, I thought, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. Like, there's nobody that does this. But then as I got to know these people, they were totally dead serious about it. And I all knew their back history, which was very similar to mine. And I at the time, I saw how much money they were bringing in their businesses. And it was extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. So, of course, being a good student, I decided I would do that with myself. And it was for years, I wouldn't walk out of the house with less than $3,000 in my pocket in cash. In order to expand your mind, like if you're going to consciously do this as an exercise, if you're going to expand your mind into the idea of turning an annual income into a monthly income and just doing it for fun on the side, right? Let's have a great month. Your mind has to be able to expand into that idea. And what happens to most people is they get, as soon as the suggestion starts, their mind goes, how? They look at all the work that they've got to do. They're like, I don't have time for this. And they don't do anything. So they never experience the exercise. They never open up their mind to the idea that the way to do it's here. You could do it on the side. It doesn't have to take a long time. It could be a lot of fun. There's always money coming in. It's a very important thing because the more you expand your mind around the idea of abundance, the easier it is for your mind to think on those levels and to attract ideas on those levels. When you see people where they're like, I'm not creative, I can't figure things out, It's because they're focused on small things, right? Broke people are always focused on other people and small things, right? It's all that problem first thinking. Wealthy people are not worried about other people, and they're always thinking bigger. Whether they do it or not, they dream bigger, right? Let's think bigger, bigger, bigger for the fun of it, but it's also an exercise in expanding your mind. The more you keep around you that demonstrates that there's more than enough, the more your mind expands into the idea that there's more than enough, the more you will attract to you that there's more than enough. So the suggestion for the psychological triggers of having the money and other things around the house to constantly telling yourself that there's more than enough has a profound impact on your expectation. A profound impact on your expectation. I've never stopped doing it ever since I was taught it. Now, I will say, most of the time I don't walk around with $3,000 in cash in my pocket anymore. Number one, it's usually uncomfortable to carry that much money. And today there's places that don't even take cash anymore. So, but I feel that I'm at the place where it's not a negative for me not to do it. But I'll tell you what, if I was starting today, I would. And I still keep money in various different areas in places in my life. And a lot of it, right? It's there. And sometimes, like I said, sometimes I take a wad of it and go do something with it. Sometimes it'll sit there for the longest time, but I know that it's there. It's like everywhere I look, right? There's money in my bank account. There's money in my investments. There's money in the house. There's money in, it's just everywhere I look, I've got money there somewhere. So it's always telling me there's more than enough. There's more than enough. There's more than enough. It should be fun, not just an exercise because for some people, this exercise is very difficult, right? I know people that I've done this with, and they come back and they'll tell me like they're obsessing over the fact that they've got 10, 20, 30, 100 grand sitting in the house. It's scaring the hell out of them. They can't think. They're worried about it. They move it from one place to another. They get another, they used to call them a strong box or whatever when we were kids. They're putting it in there and they have it locked on this, and then they get a safe, like they get crazy with it. But that should be telling you just how afraid you are that it would disappear. I'm not afraid it's going to disappear, right? You want to get on the other side of that so that if everything went away tomorrow, you know how to get it all back. Sometimes I think a loss like that as a challenge is a good thing for people to go through. So they're not so damn neurotic about it, right? The money's not going to stop flowing. And the more you make, the more it flows. Again, where I was going was make these things fun. Have fun with it. Associate fun in your mind, right? The psychological trigger of fun in your mind. Have cash around, right? Keep it around. Use it. Enjoy it. Do things with it. Grab somebody and grab a wad of cash right off the top, pull it out, a nice big chunk, and then you grab a chunk off and you go, let's go do something fun. Just grab a chunk and go buy something crazy, stupid money stuff. Grab a chunk and give it away. Go out on a Saturday morning. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. I'm going to grab a chunk and go bless some people today, right? Have that kind of fun with it. It changes the normalcy in your mind around money because very few people live that way. But it's a lot of fun. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you from the idea of the things that you can do in your life to expand the idea of abundance and keep expanding it, right? Those are some suggestions for today. And also, I found that it attributed, at least for me, with the stopping of worrying about money, right? Because every time my mind would go, oh, there's a little bit less here or something like that, I would think to myself, yeah, but you got this over here and you got this over here and you got this over here. And it wasn't from the savings aspect of it either, because I tried that and it really didn't work. It was that my mind finally got to the place where there was money everywhere and it was always coming in. And I associated it with, I'm doing this, I'm controlling it, I'm bringing it in, I'm making the sale, I'm putting it here, I'm giving some away, I'm doing this. And it got to the point where it was fun. It was not fun in the beginning. I've told you those stories. It was not fun when Proctor first had me start giving away tons of cash. It was not fun. But I got to the point where there was no emotional connection to it. Got rid of all those stories. And then it became fun. And it flows out and it flows in. And it's a great day, right? So go have an amazing day. Get some stacks. Put them around the house, right? Put a stack someplace and let somebody find it. You're like, what the fuck is this? I found 20 grand in the closet. Did you know that was there? Have fun. All right, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.